I'm being drawn to the shape of the circles. The maze and the labyrinth and the circle. It's going around, it's coming back in and on itself again. It's going around and coming back in and on itself again. It's a trail you walk, a path you walk over and over again. It's the walk you do. It's important you do. You do it in a certain timing. It's not so much season of the year, but it's as in incremental years. It's like I think every 7th year you circle back around, you do something that layers itself onto this. The hunter is looking, 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 looking. There will be spaces and gaps of loneliness that have come in during this time. This has you as the hunter. It's almost like you go over the same grounds over and over. And the queen. You're definitely the hunter. The queen is someone else that's entirely with this. And she may or may not be a queen traditional sense, but the archetype is there. The queen, who is kind of above the fray, admired, has station, has a little bit more of the financial assets and gifts. You're the hunter. You're lowly. She is not. In this life, this is very, very male energy coming through. This feels like you were a guy in this life. Round and round and round. You cross paths. You are an advisor. You see something. You see her. You would ever love to be this. This is unrequited love. You would ever love to be with her. You're only the seer. The sacrifice to be near and in her presence is the sacrifice you make. You walk the maze. You come around. You can only be distant. You can only be the ships passing in this one. And I don't know why. It's not like the queen has done anything in particularly wrong. I think it has to do more with social station and also race. Now, this is weird. And, you know, Phil is very, very Mexican and I'm very, very pasty. So whatever, you know. In modern times, mixed marriages happen all the time. And anybody that has a thought in their head and an independent brain doesn't care what color of caramel anybody else is. They're over it. But in this era of time, the people in general were not as much over it. It was a problem. That is why it was unrequited. It's why you wouldn't have been together. Because you weren't from the same country. You weren't from the same racial, ethnic group. And it got in your way. You would come around and come around and come around. You were definitely the one of the hunter, the one that would roam. Or I'm getting the roamer. More than the hunter, you were also the roamer. Very interesting. But here is this. This is like always what you're hunting and circling back to. Always you'll bring a gift, you'll drop something she would recognize. But you are always doing this. You would have visions that would see into the future. You would see future lives with this person. You had sight. She did not. You were raised to have sight. I think you were like, I know to compare this to Native American Indian, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that. It could be just indigenous people, whether they're Aboriginal or whether they are Inuit or whether they are whatever. It would be more of the caramely colored people that were native to the land, and then more like the colonizer type energy. Now, the queen, she had station above you just because she was, you know, different. She was more from the colonizer group. You were the hunter group. You knew how to avoid, you knew how to benefit your people in general, but she was one of those that was with the colonizing people, but she wasn't head up the ass type person. Obviously, you saw each other's soul. You saw her in forward lives. She couldn't see that far. I mean, she was really living in a box, living in the rigid, tiny, color within the lines type of energy, big time. Power, though. Power. Power, power, power. Her household had power behind it. I don't think they were aristocrats. I just think they had power. I don't know what they were. You come in again, like a Knight of Swords, carrying the truth. Will you show that card? There's you, the hunter. Totally, totally, totally you, the hunter. You would charge forward with the truth. You would bring things to her. You were seen as wise and knowledgeable, and it was something that actually helped. Now we're going into the story of your people here. The story of your people, that you were able to share wisdom and you kept the wolf at bay. You were able to keep these colonizing bastards from totally annihilating you and your family, your tribe, your people. You were able to act as an agent of protection. You would gather stuff, things, knowledge. Not so much as trading stuff and things like we would think of when we see corn. Not so much of that. It's the trading of knowledge, of information, of way the lay of the land was. The different perspective that you could see from high up. You would have had the ability to maybe go up on the high mesas or the high mountains and really, really see the lay of the land. Understand the rhythms and understand the ways. And they didn't know that, but you were able to be like a cartographer's helper of a sort. Now this is a funny turn of events. There's you doing your traditional thing, and there's contests, there's seasons and summers and festivals and celebrations. And this is a time where White Buffalo comes in. Now, I don't know what White Buffalo woman comes in to tell you that's the magic, the mystery, the really big excitement, but it's something good that benefits. In this next stage of 7 years, everything was pretty abundant. Everything was pretty peaceful. There was not much contention going forward here. Not much contention going forward here. For 7 years, did it get extended? I think it did. It's like this wants to turn and wants to turn. It's almost like this energy wants to turn. It's like the sundial gets slowed. The festive cycle gets lengthened. A little bit of bonus points going on in that. A little bit of bonus gifts of time. So when you circle around in this particular frame, you get more time. This was the final time you saw her in this lifetime. You had more time. You would only see her in dream space from there on out. When you went round again, she was no longer there, no longer available, no longer available to interact with. It pissed you right off. I mean, you were angry, even though you knew the social climate, you knew what was going on. You shifted out of hunting mode to a little bit of vengeful, a little bit of warrior mode, a little bit more territorial, didn't want to help out, you guys had paid too much of a price. In her dream space, she would reach out for you. In the dream space, she would reach out for you. In the dream space, she would tell you stories of children and of the children she would bring you. In her dream space, she had sight. She didn't know what the fuck it was, but in the dream space, you would see her there. You would see her, you would see your children. You would see her as mother of your kids in this dream space. That's the only place you would ever meet. She didn't know how close to truth she was. You did. It made you sad. It took a little bit of the edge off the warring in your heart. You would go and you would gather and you'd grab holds of things and you'd rail against whatever the change was, and you instead of being ally, you became angry at the other culture. culture. 'Cause Your lands and territories and areas of familiarity got further and further apart. Cycles when you could walk this season thing got longer and longer to circle back, became harder and harder. And it wasn't just because you were getting old. It was because you were in this time where the world was changing. It shifted, it shifted. It's too many people crowding a space, too many people that don't belong, they're crowding a space. It's like, this is a river of just fish. It should be just fish. And these people, these fancy pants motherfuckers come in here, crowding the space, crowding the river, taking. You're angry with this. We'll show them this. There was not a time for peace. Again, for a long time. I don't think you... This shattered something here. This hunter and this seeker and this gentle soul that was you, walking the labyrinth, doing the labyrinth, hunting around, going and doing what you normally did. It shattered it when it was this long time that you had all this joy and then you didn't see her again. Something inside your heart broke. Big time. You aged differently after this. You wore your age faster. It's like, as much as, you know, a happy and delighted heart would keep you young, a heavy heart made you old faster. And the years and the years and the celebrations and the victories just weren't enough. I think you got very, very sick. Something in the winds, in the winds, in the winds. It's like something that modern times we'd have strep throat or something like that, and we would have like antibiotics or something, but we definitely recognize it, know how to treat it, know how to handle it, right? It was like almost like a pneumonia. If you could get strep throat and they get it more than once, you know how to recognize it. This is something that was a breathing thing that you got more than once, but you didn't take yourself to where you needed to be to have access to the things that could help you heal. Nor did you care. You were just done with it all. You were inviting the wind. It's almost like you were asking the gods to curse you or end you. With utter defiance, this is like, brr, raising your fist to the sky, angry, not the dance of beauty of how you wanted it to be. Too many long winters, too much anger, and no more. Something passed away. This was before you passed away. Something passed away. Not just the time, not just the era. I'm getting a sister energy. There she is. The family that, you know, your heart was more about this person for most of the time, but you still had family around you. You still had your own family of origin. You still had your mother, your father, your grandfather, that kind of energy all around you. But more and more isolated you became over and over. As you age, you became more and more isolated. You just didn't care to invite others in so easily anymore. Your sister passes. You remember the sister of your youth. Your sister passes first. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it is it's like thistle and corn stalks and screeching eagles, but it's not a screeching eagle, but it's some kind of sound. It's some kind of other bird. I don't think it is eagle, even though it's depicted here as such. It's not. It's some kind of other flying bird that would come. Where's our birds? It's some kind of birds. The woodpecker will peck a hole into the tree until he can like put the nest and all the birds and all that inside it, make it a good space and spot for that. And the woodpecker will do that, and kind of take over the tree. And it feels like that was what the screeching was, and it was other people taking over where was yours, where was once yours. And the thistle and the medicine of the thistle, I don't know what that's about, but the milk thistle, something about that is medicinally good for something. And that's something that you didn't get the chance to go around and you were like, yeah, enough of that. I don't know what that's about. Let's go back here one more time. Now you're old. Like in that time you were very, very old. And this time it's young. Like this is 50-ish. Old, tired. Joints are hurting. Sister's calling. Something's prowling. Now you had a spirit guide in this life when you would hunt that would lead you around. You did have a spirit guide also that would lead you. And I don't know how many generations back she was. She's a totally different person than this one. But she would help you in your hunting, in your pursuit, in your travels. Your sister's calling you from over across. She's calling you from over across. And you feel like you are not just giving up, but also stopped. You know your time is limited. You know your time is short. The will to push further is gone. You want the space between. You're more and more in a land of dreams, more and more in a land of sleep, caught between the two worlds. It's like you get this dream message, come find me, catch me if you can. You have the catcher here. She's got all the feathers, she's got all the things. She's the one here. Catch me if you can, catch me if you can. I think you knew, finally you knew, and I think she finally recognized in a dream that your lives would weave again together. I think that's what it is. Catch me if you can, catch me if you can. And there's pumpkins, and there's harvests, and there's different times, and there's different creatures, different trees, different things that are foreign. But she looks like you. Like she looks like she's not colonizer, pasty white, milky white skin, that kind of shit. She looks like she is more indigenous. I think you guys jump not just time together, but you jump continents. Like she would be of your tribe in this particular one. You knew, or you would be of hers. She looks like you look like her, doesn't matter which. This was the dream you had before you died. That's a significant dream. It's like you decided you would cross over. As soon as you saw that, you would cross over. So you could bring more information through to the dreams to her if you could. There would be land near an ocean and a coastal near an ocean. Near the coastal oceans is where you would be, where your people would be, where you'd find each other. And you would look like steel, not fire. Something changes in you. Something tempers you. Your essential self gets tempered a bit because of this life experience you've had here. Because of the lesson and the not having. You shift from like maybe a fire sign to a water sign if we're talking astrology. And there's wisdom here versus this here. Anything else? It's kind of a sad, bittersweet story, but the council was pretty pleased. We're talking the angelic council as well as just the tribal council. They were very, very pleased with what you had accomplished, what you had done. The goodwill that you extended forward went a long, long, long way. And it helped kind of punch your ticket for the next time around where you could unite, where you could be together. The council was very, very pleased with this. Very, very pleased. The spirit guides that helped you, and that kind of council is super, super pleased. The people around you very pleased also. They understood full well what they were working within, and they understood their times quite well. They understood their connections with earth and sky, and that they would be here and then they would be back. They understood that perfectly well. That's where it's complete. It's like, well done. Really pleased. Good job. Pure intent. Your pure heart existed more than your warring heart, and that was huge, huge gift. That's what I've got. That's complete. Holy smokes. That's what it is. Bill? That's complete.
That is complete.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.